you, Agrim. Thanks for putting that comment. So Agrim is from my team. He's not from RIT, but thank you. I think we have our next speaker, Rhea. Rhea, can you hear me? Rhea, I think you are on board.
Hi.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Rhea. Thank you so much, Rhea. I just cannot thank you enough because I know it's early morning there. And if somebody had asked me to do something like this straight out of the bed, I really don't know if that would have been ever possible from my side. So I know it takes a lot of effort. And I think there is one more person. I can see the name. I can see the name as A. Bharadwaj. I think Aditi Bharadwaj, right? Agrim just gave me a surprise.
We're both going to be talking about construction, real estate, and
Okay,
architecture.
super. And Rhea, we have a bunch of very active students. They're slightly reserved. They may not ask you a lot of questions, but do not worry about it. I'll fill the void because I haven't kept my mouth shut from morning. And as I said earlier, I feel like an architect student right now. But I think we are mostly concentrating on the fact that these guys are going to pass out of their campus next year. So we would like to know, according to you, like you're a professional, you have been working out of New York. So what do you think could be the challenges for freshers next year and after they pass out, and how they should prepare? I think this question goes to both Aditi and Rhea. I think you guys can take your chances to talk about it, the challenges and how they need to prepare, and probably a first job, how they should be planning for that.
Okay, so I made a presentation. So me and Aditi are going to just talk about that.
Yeah, sure. I'll probably just make you the co-host so that it would be easy for you both. Yeah, I hope you got the invite.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
You see it?
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to talk a little bit about me and my background and how I ended up where I am. I did a bunch of crazy different things to get here. So I did my undergrad in architecture in Ravi Institute of Technology in Bangalore. And the biggest mistake I did after that was I didn't work at all. I went straight to grad school and I went to NYU for real estate development, and I majored in sustainable development. And I ended up getting a job in a construction company at this company called AECOM. It's one of the largest construction companies in the world. And with AECOM, I work with their transportation department in highways and bridges, and I'm a projects control analyst for them. So I do all of their finances. So I studied architecture, I studied real estate, I studied sustainable development, but I work in project management. So it's a bunch of things. And I just wanted to talk about the different career opportunities that all of the students can take, because I know that they have architecture as their base. And there's so many things you can do after architecture. I don't think we realize that. So I just wanted to open up their options and let them know that all of these things are there that you can do as well after architecture. So one of the main things that they could do is structural engineering. This is particularly interesting if they have an affiliation towards skyscrapers or bridges. The Burj Khalifa was actually designed on a piece of paper, like on a napkin. So that's cool.
Wow. Okay.
So if anybody is interested in skyscrapers and bridges, structural engineering is a really good thing to look out for. Another profession that it's not mainstream for people to get into is real estate finance and real estate development, which I think is amazing when you have an architectural background, because most of the people who are sourcing the capital for the buildings that we want to design and build, they have no idea about architecture. So when we have that extra edge as a designer, when I am negotiating with finance, I know why we need that extra source of money, because we need that extra cantilever.
Okay.
Am I right? Like buildings without columns, isn't that amazing? And then real estate development is mainly sourcing the site and learning zoning laws. So if people have an interest towards that, they should definitely consider these two professions. If they're good with people, if they're looking to get away from architecture and design, these are two really good professions, and architecture as a base is amazing. Another industry that I feel like has a lot of scope right now is landscape engineering. I don't think we realize how important landscape is to really frame a building. It's also, architecture is such a stressful job, and each project has a long shelf life. But I think with landscape engineering, you're you keep churning out your projects and you keep moving to the next one. So if you're someone that gets bored easily and wants to do short-term projects, then landscape engineering and interior design, I think, is like a really amazing option. Construction management and project management, which is what I do, is if you're really good at managing people, then this is an amazing profession for you. You already have the base of architecture, so you're reviewing drawings, you're seeing where everybody is in the construction side, where we are, all of that stuff. So I feel like if you're good with managing people, then that's an amazing job for you to look out for. Sustainable development right now is a huge deal in our century, and especially in our generation. Everybody is thinking about the environment all the time. There are even exams that you can write to get LEED certified, and this will also give you an extra edge. It'll help you get better jobs. Certifications always help, and LEED certification is one of the most valued in the industry, I feel like. And then BIM specialists, some really cool stuff is happening here. If anybody likes gaming, then this is like the cool stuff. Like now you can just take your phone and you can move it around and it'll show you how the building looks, just like the image that I've attached here. And have you guys heard about those?
Rhea, do you have some images on the screen?
Rhea, your presentation is not visible, by the way. Your slideshow is not visible. Can you check if you're sharing the right screen?
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, what we could see is a white screen.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, I haven't used Zoom much.
Is it on a PDF or a PPT?
I'm sure. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Okay. This whole time you haven't seen this beautiful presentation I made. Each image was sourced very carefully. I'm joking. Anyway, so like I was talking about the BIM specialists, this is everybody who does their AutoCADs, their Revits, and now they have a very new way of showing when they have like these goggles and they can get to see how the building looks, which is really cool. And the last one that I want to talk about is UX and UI design, which is basically web designing. If you want to move completely away from buildings and you're done with architecture, you don't want to do anything with it, and you want to do something completely different, UX and UI, which is basically web designing, is an amazing opportunity to look out for. And you already have the basics of design. You already understand design concepts as an architect. So this will come particularly easy for you. And so these are some of the opportunities and professions that you guys can move into besides architecture. And within architecture, there's urban design and interiors and a lot of things to look out for. And in the very beginning, I know that you don't know what you want to do and you end up working and figuring it out. And Aditi is going to touch base about that more, but I just wanted to go over these just to let everyone know what all they have available, all the things that they can do. I want their minds to like linger and think about the things they could do. Now I want to talk about their professional development, which I think is very important. Like a lot of soft skills that were not taught in undergrad so I want to just touch base upon two main things, which is networking and resume. With networking, I think the most important thing is your LinkedIn profile. Please keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. Don't write stories, just write bullet points and make sure that you have a professional picture. I feel like that's the most important thing. Second thing is an elevator pitch or an introduction. For example, like when someone says, introduce yourself, you're put on the spot, like you don't know what to say. So I feel like everybody should have an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is, imagine you're in the elevator with someone you want to work with, someone you want to be like, and you have the elevator ride to impress them, for them to remember you, for them to hire you. So have that ready. When I started at NYU, with every class that I had, they always started with, give me an introduction about yourself. And a lot of people just went off on another tangent. They wouldn't straight to the point. So our professor told us that we really have to practice our elevator pitches. Just, have whatever, you have 2 minutes, just remember what you want to say about yourself and keep it ready all the time. Third thing is prepare before you go for a networking event or before you go for a career fair. Prepare as in find out who's attending it, find out their information on LinkedIn. This is very, very important. I can tell you guys like a story about it. When I started at NYU and we had a networking event. All networking events have free alcohol and free food, by the way. So I was like, okay, guys, you know what? We're going to go. We're going to eat free food. We're going to get drunk. It's going to be amazing. So I went and I was dressed in formals. I saw my friends and I was like, hey, guys, are you guys ready? You know, free food, free alcohol. They looked at me like I was crazy. They had Googled the list of people that was coming to the events. They knew all the main people by their faces and their professions, and they would go up to them and say, hi, you know, I saw your LinkedIn profile, your journey looks so interesting, I want to do the same thing. And they were there strictly for business. And after that, like, they were like, okay, you know, let's drink, let's party. So I feel like in India we don't give that much importance to networking and how to do it, but I really think that it's very important. When you meet someone that you want to work with or work for, it's very important to make your impression, and you only have 2 minutes to make it. So you need to find a common ground. Go on LinkedIn, look at their profiles, see where they worked, try to find a common ground. If they stay in the same city as you, like, bring that up as your common ground. If they studied masters in real estate, then, and that's what you want to do, bring it up in the conversation. So I feel like that's very important. And next thing is your business card. Always carry your business card. You don't know who you're going to meet, when and where. If you meet someone you want to work with, you're not going to be like, hey, yo, take out your phone, you know, I'll give you my email address. Like, in a formal environment, that's not how it works. So always carry your business card. And I know now all of these kids are just graduating, so they don't really have, like, what are they going to say on their business card? You can always say candidate of real estate, and like a candidate of architecture, and looking for opportunities on your business card. And the next thing is, when you meet someone interesting that you want to work with, send them a follow-up email the next day after you meet them. It's very important to send a follow-up email. They'll remember you, and if they find a position in their company that's a good fit for you, they will call you back. And the next one is confidence in presentation. Always be confident when you're talking to someone, and always dress appropriately for the event. Like, wear formals and make sure it's ironed, which is the most important thing.
The grooming is important, I guess.
Yes. And then resume. Another thing that I didn't know about for a really, really long time is, the longer your resume doesn't mean it's better. People are barely reading it. Humans are not even reading it. The computer goes through a program where it looks for buzzwords and picks up your resume. And then out of hundreds of resumes, the computer picks up like 10, and then HR actually looks at it. People are not reviewing hundreds and hundreds of resumes that come in. Most companies have this, mid-size and large scale. Small companies probably review each resume that comes in. So first thing, make sure your resume is 1 page. Try your best to keep it at 1 page. Just try, no matter what. And buzzwords. So when you apply for a job, I told you that the computer database looks for buzzwords, right? So make sure that your resume is tailor-made for each job that you apply for. Look at the job description, and whatever words are in the job description, put that in your skills. So if you really, really want to work at one company, tailor-make your resume to that company. So, yep. This is just information that I have for you guys. I hope it was helpful.
No, I think that was really valuable, Rhea, because you spoke about the basics, and I think these are the kind of basics that people usually miss out when they're starting out to start a career. And also the end point that you said, probably they could customize their profile according to the company. So is there any key points that you would want these people to keep it in their mind when they are doing their research about the firm? Any specifics?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my key point would be, try, if you're starting off and you don't know what you want to study, you don't know what you want to do, try to work at a bigger company, because there you get more exposure to different roles, and you can kind of decide what you want to go into. And also, me and Aditi have this Word document that we're going to share about resumes and guidelines on how to build them and how to tailor make them for each job. Okay. So I feel like that would be really helpful.
Okay, super.
I'm going to shift it over to Aditi, and she's going to talk about the rest of the presentation. She is going to talk more about architecture. I was moving away from architecture, so
All right.
yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Rhea.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Do you mind sharing your screen for the presentation?
Yeah. Just give me a second. I'll get it done for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've already made you the co-host, so I think you should be able to share the screen.
I'm
Yes.
sharing my screen. Can you see it? I'm sharing
Yeah.
Aditi.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Aditi, and I'm a new graduate from Georgia Institute of Technology, which is in Atlanta in the US. I am working as a technical designer for Nelson right now, which is an architecture and an interior design firm. And it also, this is real estate development. So I also did my undergrad with Rhea in MS Ramaya Institute of Technology. I did intern before I came into the architecture field as my grad school, because I think interning for that 1 year and like kind of building up a portfolio and resume was very essential, and especially working very closely with senior architects and learning what kind of architecture is being practiced in India, and what more would you want to learn, like architecture itself is such a broad term. There are so many things within it. I was lucky enough to do a little bit of urban design, a little bit of interiors, and architecture with residential buildings. So by getting that kind of exposure, I feel like it really helped me channel.
USA work lady.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So I was just saying that working at a firm like that, where you have exposure to different styles of architecture, will really help you understand the path that you want to take. I guess that 1 year did help me in that way. And that's when I decided to do graduate school in architecture itself. And I applied for school, built a portfolio from scratch. Like Rhea mentioned that, when you apply for either a job or even your master's degree, you have to look at what are they looking for in you, right? So when I applied for schools, I started seeing, okay, this is the kind of research they do. This is the kind of design they are looking for. So I will show them how interested I am in this sort of design. So I started building my portfolio according to that. And then I applied for one of the best schools in the country and got in. And that's where like my journey started, I guess. It is definitely scary to enter the real world from architecture school, because there's a big gap between what you learn and what actually happens. There are so many unknowns, and as a graduate from an architecture school, you have these questions like, what firm do I go to? Do I know enough to be working at a firm like this? But don't worry, this is completely normal. We all face this kind of challenges. All you need to do is practice, where my professors noticed that this is the kind of gap that's between students and professionals, and they helped us a lot to get over that bridge, and like sort of give us like a starting guideline, like where do you start. So I have just made a couple of slides with tips where this is where you have to be looking at, and like what your mind be when you start a job. So don't get caught up in old guard firms, because this is extremely true, because you have to pay attention to the firms that you're looking at. There are so many scales of firms, starting from like people like a startup with like 3 people to a multinational firm which practices residential, hospitality, landlord services, healthcare. So I guess that's where you find your voice. You need to see what kind of a crowd is there in the firm, like what kind of a mission do they practice, and does it resonate with you? It's not just about designing, but it's about what you believe in. And I think that really helps you grow as a professional as well. And that'll enable you to design your own career paths that way. The next slide. Ria, could you go to the next slide? Yeah, thanks. So, yeah, like she mentioned, networking, right? It is the key to advancement because once you get to know people in the firm of, like in the field of architecture and different firms as well, I guess you'll understand where you stand and what do you have to be preparing for. And you never underestimate the value of the, Indian like you don't have to really know what they're talking about. Just start going to these networking events and attending these talks, and you will that's when you learn. You start meeting new people, you start learning from new people, and it can be people of different ages. They can be your seniors, they can also be your peers, because these topic of discussions keep going on. I guess that's where you learn, okay, this is what I resonated and I want to do this sort of architecture in my career. So that's when you start networking, you create a circle of people, and then you start working with them. And that's when, you start building yourself as a designer as well. So, yeah, the next one is just look out for the number one choice. It is your career, right? You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. Make sure you have appropriate experience and your opportunities, and you're getting paid fairly. So stand up for what you believe in and don't be to try something new. You can always ask the firm of what you are looking for as an individual, and then if it doesn't work out, you move on. There are tons of opportunities there. Like, I think personally, I used to be very afraid of asking, because I used to feel like, I'm still this freshman. I don't think I have my place in the firm questions, but that is completely untrue, is what I learned, especially when I and every voice matters, and they do value your words, and you just have to step up there and say, I want to get into this project, can I participate in this project? Just ask, and once you ask, you never know what doors they open. So don't ever be afraid to ask questions and go wherever you need to in the. And another thing is that you need to design your own career and position. Like I've been stressing, I can't stress enough on this because each of us are so unique and individualistic. Architecture broadens, it has a very broad spectrum of what you learn, but at the end of the day, you are good at something that you do that something somebody else cannot in your class. And you guys would have seen views. One of them would be great at rendering, one presenting. You can find your voice and then reflect that upon your experiences and start doing your research, and that's when you get your career decisions, and then you attain that position that you need. So technology is the one thing that we all have seen, how now that everything is virtual and everything, and VR technology is coming in, it is the way that's going to lead our way. You must very focused and kind of upfront about what is the latest softwares that firms are doing, like what are they practicing, especially in India and the US. What I have noticed is that Revit, ArchiCAD, AutoCAD, and Adobe softwares are super relevant. Like Google SketchUp is something you can learn by yourself, but Revit and AutoCAD is so broad based that you can never stop learning. So always like be very proficient in what you're learning, and even though you haven't done it during school, it's fine. There are tons of tutorials out there. Keep like always be on top of your game, and during an interview, that is one of the first questions they ask you. They'll ask you where you are in your Revit, and you tell them that you know how to make a construction drawing. That is it. Like that is a very good place where you would stand, and then you can definitely get into the next round. So I guess technology is one thing that you guys have to be proficient in no matter what. Another thing that I want to talk about is about portfolios. looking for a new job or a new college or a career change within your profession in architecture, your portfolio is one of the most important devices that will establish yourself in the field of architecture. Um, don't let it scare you. It can get very overwhelming out there when you're looking at what people can do and everything. But then a portfolio is basically just a simple document that's going to show your story through images. And it doesn't have to be a big paragraph of words. You don't have to explain every plan you put in there or any section you put in there. It's just basically showing one big image of the kind of design that you believe in and you've practiced. And having those kind of accurate drawings will take you to so many levels. And like, if somebody like is looking at your portfolio, right, they're not going to look at 50 pages of your work. Like, you have 10 pages of like a simple document with imageries and compositions and a format. And that is when you learn about yourself. When creating this portfolio, just as you can understand more about your peers, will be the same as they reading you. The step one of identifying what you need to have in your portfolio is, where are you really going with this? Are you going professional level, or are you doing academia, or is it just for your record, or is it personal? So start looking at identifying where you're going with your portfolio. And once you pick your category, then you can go to the next step. So the next step is basically targeting the right audience, right? You make a portfolio. Who are you making it for? Is it for a firm again? And what kind of audiences is in the firm? So as Rhea mentioned, right, you always do your background check, as in wherever you're going. If you're applying for a job in a particular company, go look at what kind of people are in that company. Go look at their portfolios. There's everything out there that you can access nowadays. So you can go see their style of architecture and design your portfolio in a way that would catch their eye. For example, if you're doing environmental design, right, you put in your design work that resonates with that. Don't make it too, technical or whatever. Put in like one drawing where it shows that you actually want to get into their firm and their practice, and that's what's going to catch their eye. So look at your audience. And then, how do I know who your audience is basically background checks. Again, go to their LinkedIn profile, go to the website. Their website will actually have so much information that you would have never known. Look at who the lead architect is and then check their profile, and that'll just help you understand what kind of a style you need to create in your portfolios. Step 3 is establishing the tone of who you are, and then you are you and not someone else. So start understanding that you cannot pretend to like kind of just copy a design from out there. Like, I know Google has tons of resources, but an employer can easily catch you by like looking at your portfolio and talking to you. They can say, okay, her portfolio talks with her personality, or it doesn't. So never lie to yourself. Like, always stick to your personality and describe that in your portfolio, and treat your portfolio as an extension of yourself. And if you like, some color combinations, you like a way of composing things, stick to it. Don't be afraid of that. And the last part, one step, this is research. You have to research before you start your work. Look at different resources, Behance, Issue, LinkedIn, different architectural magazines that you find, like Architectural Review, Architecture Digest, Dwell. There are so many magazines out there. And also your peers and your colleagues. Always ask and then find out the best resources. Look at the internet if you don't have your peers to talk to. Like, there are so many portfolios out there that will help you kind of understand how do you actually compose a page. Use InDesign, use softwares that will help you create a very systematic and organized portfolio, so that when the employer is looking at it in that 5 minutes, he can get a gist of like everything that you want to talk about. So do your research really well, use all the resources out there, and then start your work. It'll definitely help that way. So step 5 is, what's your future plan? Set your portfolio goals and then look at how long do you have to make it. I know as designers, we are never satisfied with our job. We always want to like improve on everything. We finish a review and we still want to go back and like fix that model, fix that color in that grass. So give yourself a deadline, because we can never finish it otherwise. Always deadline and take that seriously. Once you do that, you will find your purpose and your goal, be driven towards it. Like how we have like a deadline for an assignment, that's when you have to be done. So with the portfolio, because it's your own story, you might tend to like lose track, but keeping that long-term goal in mind will definitely help you, and then it'll help you build a great portfolio. And this is one of the best things that you can carry with yourself. It will talk about your personality. So anywhere you go, always have a digital copy with you, or have like a link that you create on Issue or on Google Drive that you can immediately share with someone you meet. So they look at it wherever and whenever. Like it is nice to have a printout of what you want to show them, but always and always save everything and archive everything digitally. So on spot, you can get an interview on spot. And that is one personal story that happened with me. It was a career fair. I didn't have my printed portfolio. There was no time, but I did have it on my laptop. I just went in there. I approached every architect I could, and one of them really liked me, and which was the firm I'm working with right now. And I didn't realize that them asking me questions about my portfolio was their form of interview with me. And then the very next week, when I followed up with them in 3-4 days, they wrote back to me saying they loved my work and they were really glad that I could show them my portfolio when they wanted me to. And then I got an interview, and that's when I landed my first job in the US. So I feel like these are the things that you don't really think is serious enough, and you feel like, yeah, I can just meet them later, or I'll get an interview later. But when you have a chance, grab that opportunity and then show it. In this digital world, it's always possible. There are endless possibilities to carry your work with you. So always be proactive in such things, always network, and always be prepared and confident in what you're talking about, because you are your own individual self and you should be proud of that always as a designer. So yeah, thank you.
Superb, Aditi. It just couldn't have got any better, because pretty much in the last 20 minutes, I think you have summed up everything that was pretty much touched upon from morning, but you put it beautifully. And I would love to say that you have added the cherry on the cake for all of us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think the PPT was simple but aesthetic. So that's pretty much goes with the lines of architects, right? But thank you so much, both Rhea and Aditi. It was pleasure having both of you. Not the best of the time to bother you people with this, but I again do apologize. It's just the fact that we are in two different time zones. And
for Aditi, it's 4 a.m. So for her,
okay.
it's even worse. For me, it's 6 a.m.
Okay, so it would take an extra effort from my side to say thank you to Aditi.
No worries at all. Architects don't sleep, so
they don't
it's not
sleep. No, let me just ask you one question before we say goodbye to both of you. How important it is to stay passionate about what you do, because you might have started off with your own degree of passion and curiosity when you were 18, 19. And what happens later on? And once you get to know more about the commerce side of what you do you think that takes a hit, your passion and curiosity, and the commerce starts dominating it? Or are you guys still in the early stages?
Aditi,
I feel like, okay, I can go first. I feel like it is definitely a little bit of a gap, like the gap that we're talking about.
Okay.
I think in school, you can just live your dream out, design like a spaceship in Bangalore and like do whatever the hell you want.
Okay.
But if you really get into your career path, it's a box and you're building inside that box, and you don't really get to design. You only get to draft somebody else's sketch, and it kind of makes you feel like, okay, is this really what I want to do? But there's just one thing that keeps me going. I know that I always wanted to do something for the community. I am a designer and I'm soulfully very excited about doing whatever I do. It can be literally drawing one wall on AutoCAD. It's not much for me, but it adds so much value to a project that people are living in. I'm designing a healthcare building that I know there are patients going in and getting treated, and it's because of the efficiency of your design that makes the building work. So you're drawing a very small line, but it's painting the biggest picture ever. So
Correct.
drive and that self-motivation that you have, and you just see people happy, you see things work, that kind of enthusiasm just gives me a lot of satisfaction. And I'm like, I know this is where I want to be, no matter how small my contribution is, but it is doing a lot to the community.
Yeah,
So
adding value to people's life, I guess, right? At the end of the day, you do your job and it adds value to somebody's life. I think that nothing like
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that's all we do as designers. So we just want to add function and value to something that's being built in the environment.
How about you, Rhea? I mean, it's the same question to you. Are you still curious, passionate, driven, or the commerce has taken it over?
There's also a follow-up
So,
question to that from Ashley, I think,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
said,
I'm just gonna address that as well.
yeah.
So for me, when I studied architecture, I get bored really easily. So I'm not going to lie, and I'm going to be super candid. I was so bored, like 5 years of architecture. I was like, I'm done with this just after 3 years. And like, I feel like for architecture, you really, really need to be passionate about design like Aditi is. And she's like gone on to study masters in architecture. But for me, even though I like design, I was not, honestly, I'm being very honest, I was not super duper passionate about it. And you need to fight for your design, because the commerce is going to take over. Like the civil engineer and the financier, he's going to come in, he's going to say, hey, we can't have this crazy design that you want, we need to save money, let's make it a box, we're done, let's go. And you, as an architect, you need to be passionate about your design, you need to fight for your design, you need to say, okay, I don't care, we need it to look like this, so we need that extra budget. So I decided I want to be on the other end of the spectrum, where I'm getting the budget for the architect, because I understand how important design is. So that's why. And I also really like working with people. And I feel like as a designer, you're not very client facing. And I like to be client facing. I like to go out there, get the deals, get the money, make it happen. So that was one of the, and I always knew that I was good with people. I like talking, I like being in front of the client. So that's what drove me to move away from architecture and move more towards the commerce aspect of it and the management aspect of it.
Okay, I think I agree. Both of them make a great duo. I think one person,
Yeah,
he wants
a
to
deadly duo.
yeah, I mean, I think she wants to technically do something which adds value to people, and Rhea would pitch in with the commerce and the people management part of it. I think both of you can start a company,
A firm, so to speak. Yeah.
between you.
that's the plan.
I think
That is the plan when
I
we
thi-
move back.
I think
Yes,
I think you exemplify, both of you exemplify what is possible in the stream of architecture, because you both are that fine balance between, say, the necessity for technicality and finance, and at the same time creativity, right? And I was just Ria's profile itself. Rhea, you're working with a construction management firm today, and you're working in the finance sector, and your background is sustainable development. And Aditi, you, from what I can understand, you were in the healthcare sector. Is that correct?
Yeah, I
So
work for the healthcare team.
how does that work? How does that work in terms of being in a healthcare firm, and where does architecture come in healthcare?
So this was also a very concept for me in India. All I did was design houses for really rich clients and have like granite cladding everywhere. But when I came down here, I learned that healthcare is so much important. Design is so important when you design hospitals or universities for healthcare, or just clinics and rehabilitation spaces. People will not be cured if they are constrained to like a dull looking building where you enter the clinic and it's all whitewashed and you feel like that is how a medical space is supposed to be. Everything should be white, everything should be, smelling of like those alcoholic wipes. Like none of that. You design in such a way that when people enter a building, you feel calm. You have to mentally accept that, okay, this is where I'm coming to heal myself. So design in that way is involved so much that people don't really address. And then that's what we are trying to do. We are looking at spaces where it is literally going to help people with mental disabilities, physical disabilities, to feel like they are completely normal, but they're just doing something for self-improvement. And with that mindset, you can heal no matter what kind of a place you are in, right? So I felt like this has a special place in my heart, designing for the people. So when I made this shift, I had like zero regrets. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I know it's not like a fancy Zaha Hadid looking building, but it's doing something so much more valuable than that, because it's touching people's hearts and it's changing their mindset about their illness. So that's when I realized that this is where I want to be.
I appreciate it. Agrim, before you wind up, before you say thanks to both of them, I would also like to say that your sheer presence for this session testifies whatever you said just now. I mean, I know for a fact
Indeed.
that both Aditi and Rhea, you guys don't have to be here. I know that. I don't know if this session would actually make a difference to you people, but the sheer fact that this has actually made a difference to all the students, from a small place called as Kerala, down south. I think your presence definitely would have made a lot of difference to them, and that testifies what exactly you said. So thank you so much. And I would also like to say, hospitality is not the best virtue on a Zoom platform. So whenever you guys travel down to Kerala, please tag along with Agrim, and you guys could be my guest. And your hospitality will be my responsibility in the next time you are in Kerala. All I want to say is that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to Agrim. Agrim, you made this possible for me. And all I had to do was just send a WhatsApp message saying that I need somebody who can come and add value. And he got two of the best people. I have a client of mine who's part of the session right now. He just sent me a message saying that this is absolutely wow. He just sent me a message saying that it is absolutely wow. It's great having you just listening to both of you. So thank you so much, Agrim. You're a magician. You're a super.
I think all credit goes to the both of them specifically, because the thing is, when at least my understanding of architecture comes from watching television shows like How I Met Your Mother, where people are just on a drafter drawing something on one of those long tables and things like that. So to know that there is so much a scope and depth, it was definitely a first for me. I'm sure those who are in the field of architecture, they're aware of it. But the fact that you said, like Rhea was saying, that even web design requires architects, and it makes sense, because using the web is all about intuition and being very open about using technology which is intuitive to you. And that whole experience, the fact that it's facilitated by people who have a background in architecture, that's new knowledge for me. And I'm sure that every single person in this Zoom call has gained something from both of you. Before we started, I'm sorry I couldn't give a proper introduction. For those of you who do not know, both Rhea and Aditi have a background of architecture from India. They both studied their undergraduate, they did it in India, and both of them then went on to do their masters abroad, while Rhea did it from the New York University. Aditi is an alumni of Georgia Tech. And also both of them seem to have diverse work experience, ranging from working in countries including India, Japan, New York, so many countries. I think the collective knowledge that you have contributed here will definitely go on to change lives. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you.
See you guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.